Hey, what is up, Headhunters, recruiters, search for moaners, all around beautiful people? This is Headhunters Live, number 70. And today we have an amazing guest, Brian Fink, which I'm very, very excited about, who, by the way, just started. Many of you know who Brian Fink is already, but he's really well known in the HR and the TA scene, sourcing scene, but he also just started his agency, and he's about to do 7 figures. So we are definitely going to talk about that and 7 figures out of the gate. But before we do so, I want to introduce my beautiful co-host for all the folks who are watching. Right here we have Chris Wessel, the best-looking man in the business. How you doing, Chris?
Did you notice he paused for a second? I think he forgot what my name was. That happens to you a lot, I feel like, sometimes, right? You're like, this guy over here, buddy. Oh, no, it's good. Everything's good. The year's off to a decent start. So looking forward to this. It's funny, like just with every show, we always have some banter going in the green room beforehand, and we do the shout out to Neil. This is the show Lebovitz. We start down a path, and we're like, we should be recording this. We should be live with this, but now we're all amped up and ready to go. So here we are.
Ready to go. Well, and Neil unfortunately isn't here today, which is not here to defend himself. So we can feel free to insult Neil as much as you want during the show because per the usual. So before we bring Brian on, a couple things I want to touch on real quick. If you're watching live, make sure to comment live down below. If you're watching the replay, comment replay. We want to see who's watching it. Make sure you share the show with everybody that you know. Make sure you like it. Make sure you give us whether you like it or you hate it, doesn't matter. We just want your emotion for the algorithm because the algorithm is hungry.
We want your attention, positive or negative. We just want attention.
That's right. Engagement is the key. So before we dive in, let me do our promos here. First off, if you want to get into contract staffing, temporary staffing, fractional, whatever you want to call it, but in essence, if you're doing direct hire and you want to start offering the service to your clients, we don't want to have to deal with workers' comp and insurance and funding the payroll, which is the worst part of the whole deal. Neil's company, Back Office Staffing Solutions, handles the entire thing front to back. Book a call. Go to their website, backofficenow.com. Book a call. Let them quote you. I guarantee you it's going to be a better quote than you're getting from your current provider if you do have one right now. We had.
Oh, sorry. Before you get into yours, by the way, I use them. I've mentioned this all the time, but we just onboarded someone this week. Super smooth, real easy. So yeah, he's got a good operation going. So highly recommend.
Excellent. There you go. All right, so go to backofficenow.com. Also, Neil is a published author. Who would have known that? Neil wrote a book called the Smart Recruiters AI Handbook. You can download it at backofficenow.com/AI, or you can buy it on Amazon. And then I run a company called the Digital Headhunter. So if you're trying to figure out your sales and marketing stack, your tech stack, right? But you're beating your head against the wall, trying to figure out what software to use for this, what software to use for this, what's the best strategy. We will build the entire system for you in about 30 days. We've worked with over 600 firms all over the world on 6 continents. Just go to realdsp.me/system. We'll also drop the link down below for the live. And you can also download my free book called the AI Proof Recruiter. I'm not on Amazon, so not as cool as Neil, but you can download my guide at thedigitalheadhunter.com/AI-proof. And it's right on the screen, and we'll make sure, again, we'll drop that link in the comments.
I feel like I need to have a book because I feel left out. I mean, I'm with 2 published authors here, and I can't even read.
The agency recruiters style and skincare guide. How about that?
There you go. All right, we better let the guest in, or this is everyone's gonna already.
It is going to devolve. All right, Brian, we're going to bring you on. Welcome to the price. Put you on top there so that way you're not covered up by my little title card there. Oops. Come on.
It's okay. That covers up my double chin. Oh,
there
man.
We go.
That was great. Like, I'm here with like 2 of the best looking guys in the industry, and you just gave me a double chin. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure, sir. You're not bad looking yourself. You're a looker. Come on now.
I'm trying, man. But that's what I do when I get my run on in my Headhunter T-shirt. Which, DSP, you asked me if there's anything I could plug coming onto this. I'm just going to ask you from the recruiting community, from the Headhunter community, can we have another batch of the Headhunter T-shirts, please?
Yeah.
You know, you're the third person that's asked me that this week. I think Cass Murray posted that photo in the Herc, and ever since then, people have been asking me about it. I might
do a flash sale. You would sell out like a few hundred of them.
Come on, man. Let's get it on. Let's do this.
Good. It was just a pain.
Ben
I got to
Red
tell it
Bear.
myself, but I might do it. I might do it. Yeah,
All right.
Shirts. For those who don't know, a few years ago, I came out with a bunch of shirts that were like, they're kind of fitted athletic shirts. It said hashtag Headhunter. I had different styles and different colors, men's and women's sizes, and they sold really well, but I haven't done it since. So maybe I'll bring it back. We'll see. If anybody, if whoever's watching this, if you guys want me to bring the T-shirts back, comment T-shirts, and I just might do it if I hear from enough.
He's just letting the demand build. He's gonna.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Oh,
that's right. People want things they can't have. All right, that's my.
Creating some
that's what we're good at. What we do.
Yeah, that's why I don't give it up on the first date. Hold on a second. Anyway, all right, Brian. Let's dive in. So for the people who are watching, you don't know, most people do, because you're pretty you're out there on social media, like you're doing your thing, you're making content, so and you're considered like an influencer in the space. So people know who you are. But for those who don't, who are you? What do you do?
Hey, my name's Brian Fink. I'm excited to be here. Why am I excited to be here? Because I like to connect with people to take recruiting from better to best. If that sounds canned, it's because I've been saying it for the past 20 years. As I said, and I sat in my cube in the cube farm and said, I want to be the great connector. And this was before I ever logged onto LinkedIn. I've been a corporate recruiter. I've been an RPO recruiter. I've been an agency recruiter. I've been an agency owner. I guess I'm now in the two-timers club because I'm an agency owner for a second time. I like to bring people to organizations so they can do their life's best work. And I think as recruiters, as whether you're a corporate recruiter, whether you're a headhunter like we are, we've got a responsibility to our clients, Mr. Hiring Manager, to help them deliver on what they want to functionally build, the sales force that they want to grow, or the marketing message that they want to create. And today I work with companies that are 40 to 400 people. They're primarily in the startup space, to help them bring that engineering talent forward so that they can accomplish big things, so they can get epic shit done. That's what I do.
That's the great thing about this business. And you mentioned that about having we're the companies that they're doing epic shit. I remember, so I recruited SAP. That's my niche from back in the day. And I remember one of the companies I worked with at the time was Illumina, I think it was. And they're doing some great work with mapping the human genome. And it's like, I'm never going to do that. That ship has sailed. I'm not going to be in that space.
Oh, I know, right?
But it's kind of cool to work with a company doing that and be able to participate and be part of it. It's one of the real great things about being a recruiter.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think Chris was gonna say something before you jump in there, Chris. I just want to say, look, I'm working with a company right now that does data analysis, data engineering, machine learning, and reinforcement learning for protein folding so that they can create drugs that are less resistant to infection. I don't know anything about that, but I know everything there is to know about finding great individuals that can help build an epic organization.
Mm-hmm. And you get to be involved in it, which is really cool. You have a hand in that, right? And doing important work. That's one of the great things about this business. And you can make money doing it because one thing you told me.
Oh yeah, let's not forget about money. We're here for the money.
Yeah, we're here for the money, the cash. Well, another great thing about the business is
I went to a conference with Anna Morgan about, not to speak over you, went to the conference Anna Morgan back in December, and they asked the audience who here likes to make money, and there were only like 10 hands that went up. And I was like, is this really a conference for entrepreneurs? Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I think. Well,
it's okay to say it too. It's okay to admit that you want to make money. Like,
yeah, people are afraid to say it. They prefer to admit it. there's nothing wrong with money. Money makes the world go around, and you can provide for your family and pay the mortgage and eat well and do great things and still provide a great service. Nothing wrong with that. We live in a capitalist system, and
and the
what it
more
is, right?
money you can make with your firm, the more good you can do, right? Like, so it's great
I don't
to be
disagree with that.
involved in all these different businesses, whether it's altruistic, you help a nonprofit hire an executive director, you help somebody map the human genome, or you just help an owner who's trying to step away from their business and their family wants them to step away and they can't find someone to take over. You find them that person that can free them up, whatever. You like changing lives and stuff, but you got to make money to stay around long enough to be able to do more of that.
Right. I mean, you're not going to go from better to best by giving away all the bacon.
No.
100%. And also what I found is that people don't value what they don't pay for. You know, it's crazy. Like as a coach, I've given away, like, okay, so I've had programs where I would give them away and they wouldn't go through it. And I'd take the same program, I charge somebody else for it and they'd go through it. Right. You value what you pay for.
Well, I mean, like that AI preparedness course that you taught back in October. It was October, November, right? That was a great course. Yeah. I mean, great course, great cohort. You know, if nothing else, it really set me up for some of the things that I was doing wrong in my I mean, it taught me some things that I was doing wrong in my business or I wasn't doing as efficiently as I could be. So I could make that jump from like what we were talking about from 6 to 7, right? 6, 7. There we go. I said that for my daughter. 6, 7. Shout out.
You know, and by the way, Brian, your check is in the mail for the promo. Thank you. But speaking of 6, 7, so my daughter, who's so my littlest one is 7, and she's already saying 6, 7, which is like.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, I got a 6-year-old, and there's a lot of kids in his class that are turning 7, and every single one of these birthday parties is like, I was 6 and now I'm 7. I'm 6, 7. You're like, oh my God, it's.
The best way to get your kid to stop doing that is start saying it yourself and get, well, he's probably still so young where he thinks his dad's super cool. But when they start getting like
9
or 10, yeah, that's the age when you, because I for my older daughter, who's now 18, I would do this where I'd start saying stuff like, you know, yeet, or I'm on fleek, you know, yo. Oh man,
I can make something uncool like that.
Oh, that's the best. Yes. As soon as you think it's cool, they'll think it's uncool. That is the trick. That is the trick. And it's also one of life's little pleasures is to be able to embarrass your kids with stuff that they think is cool, you know? You know, I tell my daughter all the time, my older one, I say, you know, I'm pretty hip with the lingo nowadays with the kids because I watch MTV Raps back in the day, so I know what the kids are saying.
You got some Riz?
She's like, "What's your MTV Raps?" I go, "Whatever." Anyway,
it's MTV. What's right with it?
Well, Brian, let's talk about your business though, because I want to think what you mentioned for the show, which is really interesting. You started your second agency.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to talk about that, about being an HR or internal versus external. But before I do that, this is really interesting. What guy you're about to hit 7 figures in your first year, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, we're not. I mean, like we will exceed 7 figures by July. July 10th is when I launched the firm. Yeah, we're creeping on 7 right now.
Is it just you got a team or
that's
So here's the thing is that like I was talking to Benjamin Mena, who I think is a friend of the program. Big shout out to Benjamin. Is that Ben and I were talking when I decided I was going to take this leap, and I said I'm going to do 500 by Christmas. And Ben was like, in your first 6 months? I was like, yeah, why can't I do it? And Ben was like, you know what? I know you're going to do it. I know you're going to do it. Right. I had a few setbacks. I think anybody who follows me knows that I lost my dad in December, and that caused some ripple effects in terms of like the ability for me to guide the business. At the same time, to answer DSP's question directly, I decided to take on 2 people who had no recruiting experience, that had experience in sales and marketing, had experience in engineering and product management, and said, I think that these 2 individuals can help me level up my team or be my team and help us go next level. Right. So we've had really stellar months. I mean, like month number 1, you know, no revenue, getting my number out there to talk to people and what have you and get conversations going. And we'll get into that. But like month 2, my wife was like, my wife was like, did you check the bank account? I'm like, no, I didn't. And she's like, they paid us early. I'm like, oh, okay. Cause like, I didn't.
You should have led with that, by the way, because you rush just check the bank account. Your first thing you think is,
did you get cleaned out? Is it?
yeah, well, like, that was a bad move on her part. Give you a heart attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but she's like a hawk, right? Yeah. So like, and I love her. Shout out to my wife. I love you, Alice. Is that I guess I do the heart emoji. That's what the kids are doing these days. But like, you know, it just started from there. And I was confident that I could do this, that I'd built the relationship and the knowledge base in engineering. I mean, you know, I know I'm on the call with one published author, and if Neil was here, we'd be 2, and now we would be 3. Like, I wrote the book Talk Tech to Me about how to journey into tech recruiting, how to build, how to grow. And there's only so much growth that you can have as an individual contributor or as a manager that's carrying a workload inside of an organization. There's only so much. Like, the further you move up the food chain, the further you move away from the wreck, right? And I think it's important for you to understand how the business makes money. I think a lot of recruiters don't understand, internal recruiters don't understand how the business makes money, like what the EBITDA is, what those PE ratios are, how they contribute to whether or not this hire is made, and what this hire is going to do, and how that cost is going to ultimately affect the business. If you're an internal recruiter and you don't know this math, you don't know table stakes. All you know is keyword matching and button smashing.
And those are the recruiters that get blindsided by layoffs and stuff because they don't understand what's happening in the business, right? They're like,
so Chris, about those recruiters that are blindsided by layoffs, why aren't there 100,000 recruiting firms that popped up overnight if people knew how to do the business so well, if they were such an asset to the business? I charge the recruiting community with that question. If you are so good at recruiting, why are you deficient when it comes to betting on yourself?
Yeah, or the business acumen as well. Yeah,
you don't have to have the business acumen.
Right. You don't just have the balls. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like here's the deal. Like, I hired 2 guys who were like, okay, Brian's making money. I can do this. My ambition is for them to be 6-figure earners in their first year. And I'm not talking about $101,000. I don't want anybody to make $101,000. Yeah. Right? Like, I want my guys to be able to stand on their own footing and a year from now be invited to join the Pinnacle Society.
Which is awesome. And that like, so, and I'm curious, like, so these 2 folks that you got, and there's 3 of you doing this, and you talked about as you grow, you need people, right? And the way that grows looks different sometimes, right? In terms of how the responsibilities are broken out, who does what, who sells, who recruits. How does it look on your team? Like, who does what?
Okay, so I run full desk and they run split pretty much, right? Okay. So like, here's the thing is that what gave me the impetus to say I need to make a hire is I had one client who called me, and like, DSP, this is everybody's dream, that you have a client who calls you and says, Brian, I was thinking, I want to engage you with a retainer, and I need to hire 8 roles, and I need to have them hired by the end of January. Now, who on this call, who listening, doesn't want to receive a call from a client that says, I want to prepay you before the end of the year for you to deliver 8 roles? Yeah. And we're not talking like easy peasy. We're talking $200,000 roles. You can do the math. You figured it out, right?
You're like, yes. And now how am I going to do this?
How am I going to do that, right? Hire when it hurts. I say that you don't hire somebody unless there's a problem to solve. Mm-hmm. The problem that I had to solve is how I said to this client, okay, Jacob, we can do this. We can do this. Sure. What have you? I was downstairs. I was visiting my dad in the hospital. I had gone downstairs. I said, let's make this happen. I'd been talking to a few people about joining me and what have you. And then I was like, now is the sign. I got to pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. And I pulled the trigger. I pulled the trigger at the beginning of December.
And it's nice when you do have that too. When you do, if you get that opportunity, think about how many times we've hired for companies because they just want a big contract. And now they're like, now we have to fulfill on it. Right. And that's where the pressure is. Right. So it's like the same thing just in our own businesses. But I mean, yeah, that's probably, to me, that says why you should swing for the fences on BD too and go after big stuff, because
you find
win it and then figure it out.
Sorry. Well, I remember early in my SAP, because I recruited SAP back in the day, early in my SAP career back, I think it was 2005 6 maybe. Anyway, Valera Energy was my client at the time, and they were, I think, 20% or whatever. They flew me out to the HR manager flew me out, and in my meeting with the HR manager, and they paid for it, by the way. He told me he was bumping me up to 30% because he wanted my priority, and it was one of those things where, you find if you put yourself out there enough and do a good job and demonstrate your authority and not to be commodity recruiter, you'll get those opportunities. You just need to be putting yourself out there a lot to get that and doing good quality work. But those do happen. They're rare, but man, when they happen, they're great, right?
Yeah, but let's talk about that, DSP. Is that why am I being successful? Is it the fact that, like you said, I got the balls, or maybe it was Chris that said it, whatever, I got them. Let's talk about that, right? Let's have a real conversation about BD. What do you want to know? How can we dissect this? What am I doing differently than everybody else is doing out there? What's going on? I know what my ICP is. I know that I work with startups that are 40 to 400 people. There's some of these organizations that they don't have an HR manager. Great. I'm not going to be your HR manager. Let me get you a fractional HR manager to come in and do that for you. Okay. I'm not that. Oh, Brian, I need you to build my accounting and finance team. I am not that dude. You do not want me to do that. We will be here all week talking about, debits and credits. Okay. Like that's how far I'm going to get on the list, but let's have a conversation. Let's go out to, do you guys know YCombinator.com?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So YCombinator.com has a job board that is really well hidden in there. YCombinator.com/jobs. But don't hit the apply button. Don't mash the apply button.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mash the company button and see what roles the company is hiring for. And then it comes down on the side of LinkedIn. On the side, and it has their LinkedIn profiles. Okay. I use Sales Navigator. Okay. I said it. Ooh. Okay. So what I do is I go, plug to LinkedIn. I go to Sales Navigator. I hit save to Sales Navigator. I start them on a campaign. I make 4 outreaches that are 1 personal email, 1 LinkedIn message, 1 phone call, and then 1, hey, what's keeping you up at night that I can help with? This is what I've done for my clients. They look at my bio, and either we have a conversation where they want to play grab ass because time is not free, right? Like we think it is, and we can have all the conversations we want. But like coming away from the conversation, DSP, I don't take a client for less than 25%. And if you tell me that you can't do 25%, we can't do it. Mm-hmm. We just can't do it.
Well, I think a big part of it too, when you're approaching like that, is key things. Well, for one, you're talking about them. You're not talking about yourself, right? You're demonstrating your tracker. We've done this for other clients. So, like for example, this client, demonstrating proof. And I think what a lot of recruiters do is they're using templated messages. They're talking about themselves. We find the best candidates. Yeah, of course, everybody says that. And so I think a lot of what recruiters have an issue with, or not issue with, but when they trips them up, is they're doing the same thing that everybody else does, right? They're afraid to put themselves out there. They're afraid to focus in and talk more about them than themselves, for example. They're afraid to, they don't have the time, or they don't make the investment in learning about the company and learning about the prospect and learning about the industry. Also finding out what their pain points are, what keeps them up at night. One of the best things I think you can do when you're talking to your clients and prospects is always ask a question on what keeps you up at night, or what are your biggest pain points, or what if you dealt with recruiters before, if you could solve one thing that they do that you just that really grinds your gears, what would that be? Like find out what those pain points are, and then give that back to the market. One of the best things I've ever done for in my business is basically take the things that my prospects say about their pain points and what they do, and just put that right into my marketing and put that in my conversations. It's really easy. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science.
Well, so that's the thing, is I feel like a lot of people are overcomplicating things. Like ask a hiring manager what keeps them up at night, what their pain point is. My other favorite question to say is, there's a lot of talent that's available on the market. What would it be like if you could level up your bottom third of performers?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great question.
What would it be like? Oh, well, then people could go on vacation. People wouldn't have to worry about their jobs. People like spurious answers. What would it be like if you could replace the bottom third of your employees?
Mm-hmm.
how would that change your business fundamentally?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too,
and change their lives too. I mean, change their lives, change their. What would it mean for senior leadership? What would it mean for your own career? What would it mean for your own career prospects? Your ability to get promoted? Because a lot of this too, you have to think about. It's not just about the company, but it's also about their own personal careers and how they're perceived within the company as well. Because they want to be perceived as leaders, they want to be perceived as doers, they want to be perceived as people who can grow the company, right? And you need to support that, and they'll be your advocate.
And I feel like even when you're having a discussion about, like, let's say those are kind of good openers, right? That get them interested in working with you. But then even when you get into asking questions about the job, you can unpack a lot about like where their head is when, like, let's say they got like a lot of people, the description that they have lists a million must-haves, right? And the usual track we say is, well, what can we trade off, and like what are
the top 3 things that you can do?
Yeah. How about you just ask? I see a lot of specific things you're looking for here. What kind of risks are you trying to avoid? Like, what are your big concerns that we're trying to like hedge against here? And then they'll open up about, well, the reason I need someone with this certification is the last guy, he thought he knew this, he was homegrown, he didn't really know what he was doing, there were gaps in his knowledge. So I feel like if they have a certification, they'll blah 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 blah. You say, okay, but then when you open them up about that, then you can guide them towards considering someone without it, because now you can speak to the actual pain instead of like, what if they don't have a whatever, right? I don't know.
Well, 100%. And you touched on something there, Chris, is that I think there are a lot of recruiters that want to be impressive. And the most impressive thing we can do is listen to our client. If you listen to a client, they are going to lead you where they want to go. And it's you're going to be responsibility twofold. One, in DSP, the lighthouse method, we've talked about this, is that you can be that lighthouse in the storm and you can guide the ship where it needs to go, right? Or you can be a yes person. And yes people are exceptionally dangerous. They are negligent with their own time. They're negligent with their calendar. They're negligent with their candidates because they're busy telling everybody yes. As recruiters, we don't realize that we're in the no business. If there are any candidates that are listening to this, you know, K-N-O-W. Brian don't spell so well, all right? I can spell Kubernetes, but the fact of the matter is, if there are candidates that are listening to this, there was a statistic that came out from LinkedIn in 2004 that 73% of candidates never hear back from a company they apply to.
Doesn't surprise me. Does not surprise
me. So that means only 27% of the candidates got told no or yes. And I'm willing to bet that 1% got told yes. The other ones just got ghosted. All right. And we talk about, like, you can Google this, that the recruiters have horrible reputations because we ghost people. It's because we don't have the backbone to go out and do the difficult things. All right. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm so boxy. I apologize.
No, it's fine. But you're right. I mean, even just my personal life, I know that I know the more the more I say no, the more opportunities come my way, right? Because that does free up my time, and it's hard because like for example, I had somebody that I know that had been in my network for a while, and she wanted me to work with me, but wanted to do it on a contingency basis, right? Pay me later, and I can't do that because I also have staff I have to pay. And it's hard to say no because I like her, she's really cool, but I can't justify the expense. I can't justify the resource that I have to spend on her. And so yeah, it's one of those things where it's really hard to say no, but it is something that's really important. And I think as well for branding purposes, I mean, it's just an icky feeling when you work with a candidate or whoever it is, and they don't hear from you, you ghost them. And that's one of the big issues with recruiters nowadays, is always has been. Ghosting people. I know I've done it.
Well, and I feel like a weak move and I know I did it at points in my career too, where like, say you got a candidate you talk to and you're kind of iffy on whether you don't really think they're gonna be a good fit, but you're like, hey, we'll run it by the client, we'll see. And then you kind of want to be able to fall back on, they moved on, they were interested in some other people that were closer fit to the requirement, blah, blah, blah. When you could have just said in the conversation, and I did this just yesterday with someone, I don't think this is a good move for you. And they were like, I don't think so either, and I respect that. Like, because why? Like, you'll have all these vague conversations you let dead end, and then now that leaves you with a bunch of things to follow up on, which does lead to ghosting. And if you could just like cut it off, and then like I had a call with a a potential client the other day that needed to hire for a leadership role, and I don't do anything contingent at this point. I do some kind of engagement fee up front, and I explain to them how I work, but I also explain to them, why and what they get that's different, and how I approach it. And they're like, man, like we really wish we talked to you a couple weeks ago, because we got out to a couple other firms, and we were kind of hoping maybe like we could, get more coverage by doing that. And then they kind of, maybe that doesn't sound like it was a good idea. And they were like, can we call you in a couple weeks if that's not working out and maybe revisit this conversation? And I was like, yeah, of course, absolutely. I'm here. But like the power shift in that conversation, I'm not like, ooh, add me to the mix. I'm just like, hey, if you need my help, let me know. And they're like, yeah, I think we're going to talk in a couple weeks.
Why would you want to go to prom? Why would you want to be one of 6 guys that goes to prom with one girl?
Yeah. Do you send your taxes out to 5 CPAs and see who does them fastest? Is that how that business works? Because even if you do contingency, you should be doing it exclusive. But that's a whole other. Yeah, don't want to go down a rabbit hole.
No, that's an important thing, right? And I actually, I already cited DSP's the Lighthouse method, which, guys, by the way, DSP, put that in the notes. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. It really is an oldie but a goodie. The reality of it is that if you can establish that you're the authority, right? So like, you look at my background. I built AI teams at Apple. I built AI at AWS. I built AI at Twitter. What do you think I built at McAfee? What do you think I'm building for my clients? This is back when AI was decision trees, right? So like, I understand what reinforcement learning is because I've grown up with it. You talk about your experience with SAP. What we're doing is not sexy to everybody, right? Like there's boring is in the work, but we're doing the work and we're executing on those fundamentals so that we can bring that talent at scale to the client. And when you put 5 good candidates in front of a client and you're the only person at the dance, man, you got a full dance card. You're monopolizing their time. And that's the other thing. I don't think recruiters think about how they can monopolize Mr. Hiring Manager's time or Mr. Candidate's time. Unless it's an exclusive engagement, right? If it's a contingency engagement, why aren't you shopping that candidate as an NPC, that silver medalist, that person you've done all the background work on? Why aren't you doing that?
Yeah. Well, you're right. And by the way, the folks you don't know the Lighthouse method, just real brief. It's in essence.
Yeah, you should do that because not everybody is familiar. Great.
Yeah, it's in essence building your authority through content as well, but also being able to speak your client's language, the pains that they have, the exact things you were talking about, but then also getting that message out there because you can have like the best messaging, but if no one sees it, then if a tree falls in the wood, or whatever that phrase is, like if no one sees it, then it doesn't really matter, right? You could be the best kept secret in the world, but be the best kept secret doesn't pay the bills, right? Which is something that you've done massively, by the way, Brian, is getting your name out there, being that authority. Because I think that's a large part of the reason why you've been so successful, because you've been able to build that authority, and you can parlay that. You don't necessarily need to go sell yourself as much because your body of work sells you already. I think that you're right there. So
I don't disagree with that, but DSP, I want to come back to a thesis in the Lighthouse method, is that there was a conference that was here in Atlanta that was about AI, and they were like, "Oh, you should attend." And I said, "Who are your speakers?" And they told me who the speakers were, and I said, "Would it make sense if I could get this person to also be a speaker for you?" And they were like, "You know that person?" I'm like, yeah, they're like in my phone, like I can text with them, right? Is that getting that other person to come into the room to point at you like the light from the lighthouse and say, "Hey, I'm Jeff. Yeah. I'm here because Brian invited me to this conference." And yeah, it just changes the dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. Yeah, it's a big part of. Well, yeah, as a piece of rights, it's that social proof, right? That when other people with authority know you, that authority kind of transfers over, right? And so that's part of it. That's why testimonials work great, case studies work great, referrals work great. It's all that's the same concept. Yeah, for sure. And it's and the great thing about that is, the more you do that, the more you build out your body work, the less selling you have to do, right? There's that lighthouse in the storm, and sometimes you do have to be the tugboat to go out there and get the ship and bring it back in, right? You can't expect everybody to be inbound. You do have to sell. Just like if you post a job online and just hope for the best, right? You have to go out there and recruit candidates and passive candidates. But same thing applies, right? The better your body work, the more authority you have out there, the less selling you have to do. It's really, and I will say this, Brian, in my own business. Okay, actually, I just had a new client sign on last week, brand new client, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Never talked to them before, but they got on a call. It was a husband and wife team out of the UK. Turns out they've been on my mailing list for like 4 or 5 years. They've seen my podcasts, my shows. They've gotten a couple courses back in the past. They were the Lighthouse, the guide. So they got on. They were pretty much ready to go. We just had to talk details, and they signed and prepaid the entire thing on that same day, because I had built that authority out there. And the same thing can apply to really in your business and everybody else's business. Everybody watching this here, right? It takes a while to develop, but it's really interesting when you do get on a call with somebody and they've known about you for a long time. They know your body of work, and you don't have to do the standard like selling job, right? You can just see if it makes sense to work together, and that's when all kind of clicks. Which it's really an amazing feeling when that happens.
Yeah.
Chris, I'd ask you this question, right? Like when it comes to business development, you said that you take an engagement fee.
Yep.
Would you coach me on how to do that? Because I am Joel Algie, bless Joel. Joel's like, oh, you got to ask for an engagement fee, right? And I very rarely ask for an engagement fee. Anybody who's listening today who wants to do executive search or wants to do retained search, how would you say they do it?
So it took a little while for me to wrap my head around it, because I had about 15 years of contingency before I started trying. And then at first I know why retainer or engagement fee, whatever you want to call it, works for me, right? Like I know that, right? But then you got to sell, like, why do they care? Why should they care? And it took me a little while to understand why they would care. And a little bit of it was communication with like past clients I had, where just understanding like what matters to them, right? And so some of the things that I found were the focus and the attention, right? Like basically, like if listen, I told them, listen, for I had 15 years of recruiting before that. 10 of those years were a tech staffing firm I owned with a partner, and I had a bunch of recruiters, and some of them knew me from doing that. I'm like, listen, I had you need me to hire this COO for you. And if you do it a contingency way, like that's going to get added to the pile with a bunch of other jobs. Like the normal, like, listen, when I ran that tech staffing firm, if I had a good software engineer, I'll tell you right now, I was going to send them to 8 or 9 companies, and somebody's going to hire them, and I don't really care who. They get scared of that, right? Because they're like, well, I'm like, so I explained to them, like, in this case, like this requires focus, this requires attention. Number one, it can't just be another job in the pile. It's got to be something that I'm working on day in and day out. It's not the only job I'm working on, but it's very few. The other piece is I'm not shopping these candidates around to anybody else. These are yours until you say no. Now I can NPC the ones that say no to. That's fine. But like you get first crack, right? I take it a step further by also saying for what you're paying up front, you get more of my time, more of my focus, for lack of a better term, right? This is a priority for me. It's a priority for you. I do give them a longer guarantee period. However, I have found that's more for a customer's comfort, because frankly, if they're going to blow out, that's usually in the first few months anyway. So if I say, listen, I'm going to do a 6-month guarantee, I haven't found any fall offs in month 4, month 5 ever. So that's, some recruiters will be like, whoa, why would you want to be on the hook that long? I'm like, well, number one, it's a much more well-qualified opportunity. So yeah, if you just take whatever shit comes at you, you want to be off the hook as quick as possible, so you don't have to give a feedback or do a replacement. But like the jobs I take in, I'm going to do a little more upfront work with them. I'll guarantee it for 6 months, no problem. So part of it is really just understanding like what's going to make them feel comfortable writing that check. And part of it is you're going to have my focus. And sometimes you got to explain to them that recruiting isn't that focused, right? That a lot of companies just take every rec they can get their hands on. And you're like, we gave it out to 2 or 3 firms. We haven't seen anything in like a few weeks. And I'm like, well, let me explain to you why. Does that
Chris, it helps. Also, I want to dial in on something. Do you use ads? Because like I don't post my jobs. Everything is or email.
I don't. On the rare occasion that on the rare occasion that I want to have maybe a new client that I want to make them feel like there's a lot of activity happening because it seems like they're kind of unsure or whatever, I might put something out there. Most of the time I'll just post about it on LinkedIn. The other thing about getting a exclusive up front, and this is a big thing, not exclusive, but a retainer up front. I explain to them, listen, how many emails are in your inbox from recruiters with a vague opportunity in a vague geographic area, right? There's a bunch of noise in there. That's what everybody's getting hit with. If I work with you exclusively, I'm on retainer. I'm not worried about someone going around me. Every recruiter is super vague and super evasive because they don't want to have an end run go around them. And it's all just a race, including against you. However, if I'm working on this, I can be out there being your advocate, waving your flag, screaming about this company, and I'm like, let me tell you, when you email candidates and you say who the client is, get a lot more responses.
Oh yeah, you get yeah.
Yeah. So when I tell them that, they're like, oh shit, okay. So and you tell them that, you say, listen, look at your inbox. You've gotten those messages. We've all gotten those messages. Do you answer them? No. That's how we stand out. So.
I flame them.
Hey, speaking of which, I heard you were a flamer. I'm just kidding. Sorry, that was a bad joke. But speaking of that, Chris, you mentioned extending the guarantee or the warranty, right? That's a big one. So, and
I also do leadership positions, so I feel it's more appropriate. So there is that.
Sure. I'm with you on that.
But I will say, a couple of things on that. Yeah, it's a big part. You mentioned it as well. That's Sasha Key is where you talk about what they're currently doing and what they've done before. Like, they're the pain points that cause them to look for talent in the first place, whether it be the business related pains, lack of sales or sales margins are thin or projects are over, or whatever happens to be. But there's also the pain points from bad solutions, right? So they use because these recruiters, there's a bunch of pain points along with that have because of a bad solution, or it could be using a very big retained firm. That could be a bad solution too. Bad solution is just any other solution other than you. What are the pain points? And it'd be so useful to basically figure out all the pain points from bad solutions. And when you're selling the retainer, that's actually what you pivot on, like what you did, right?
For sure. If you had if they had a bad experience with a recruiter already, that's a pretty easy maneuver. If they've never actually worked with one at all, it's a different conversation. I feel like the other thing I realized when I was selling, services that required a retainer up front, you got to be talking to the right person. Okay, so it's hard to sell that to HR because their ass is on the line for that money. You have to be talking to an owner. You talk to an owner, and I will tell you probably 99 times out of 100, they will at least get it. They may not buy from you, they may not pick from you, but your close rate on an owner or somebody who has P&L responsibility or really has the pain is gonna be higher because they have money that they can take risks with. HR doesn't have money they can take risks with. They need to be able to explain that. They don't want to have to explain to their boss why they gave somebody $5,000 up front or $10,000 up front and there's no results.
Say less, Chris.
That is a great.
People tell me that all the time. They should have said that.
Well, and I'll throw this in here too. Speaking of which, and then I'll throw it back to you guys. Another key thing you want to do is I'll have some proofs. If you have case studies, that really helps to show that, because if you have a new client, it's so. You could sell somebody on it all day long, but so there's that risk, or there's that perceived risk. And so if you have case studies, testimonies, whatever,
storytelling is great, helps.
And then also, and I've got a client that does this, and it's actually really, when he told me he does this, by the way, is client out of the UK. He competes against the bigger retained firms. He does what's called a risk-free retainer. And basically the deposit is not due until he submits, basically what he'll do is he'll submit the first couple candidates on the short list. And as long as they kind of fit their criteria, that is when the first deposit is due. So it's risk-free from the client's side. They still got the benefits of being a retainer, because what he does, he has to compete against the Corn Ferries, the Hydro Constructors, like the big boys in his space. And he's a small firm, so that's how he competes. He does the risk-free retainer. And he told me about this. I didn't come up with it. He told me about it. And I thought, I'm just surprised I never thought of it before, because it's so obvious.
So, the other thing too, especially whether you're positioned against that big out of town mega search firm, Hydrick and Struggles, whatever the Shrek firms, right? I have found that you got to find a sweet spot in the upfront payment that is big enough for them to feel like a commitment, but small enough for them to say yes to, right? Like if it's, maybe it's a 50-person company, 75-person company, they got a $125,000 VP job they're trying to fill, and you're looking at maybe, I don't know, whatever, God, I got to do math quick, 30 grand or something like that, right?
37.50.
What's that? 30? Okay.
37.5.
37.5. So let's say that's like the target fee, right? Like you would be hard pressed to get like 12 grand out of them up front, I feel like, especially if they're not used to the model, but they might go for 7,500. They might go, so like, for me, it's more about, and I explained to them, like, it's the commitment, the actual, the commitment itself is more important than the exact dollar amount, right? And so I've found that sometimes you don't necessarily have to try to ask for like a third, but don't ask them for like $1,000, like, because then they're not going to take it seriously.
They're like whatever, right?
Yeah, but if they're newer to it and they've never done it before, like, make it easy for them to say yes by not making it like 12.5. Maybe it's 10 grand, maybe it's 8. I don't know. And so you got to find like a comfort zone for that too. I found that usually I end up asking for about a quarter of the estimated fee, and that seems to work pretty well.
You used two very important words there. Comfort zone. Why do you think that so many of my brethren who are stuck in corporate recruiting or lost their job in corporate recruiting from all these rifts, why do you think they can't get out of the comfort zone? Why do you think they can't get out of themselves? I know I'm the guest here, but like, you guys are great every week, and I'm like, I'd love to hear your thought on this.
Okay, so first off, in full disclosure, I've never been part of the evil empire.
Same.
Or sorry, just come from agency. So for me, it's always the Rebel Alliance, Evil Empire. But I've never been in that environment. Right? It's always just that I wouldn't survive well in a corporate environment. I'm just like too much of a loose cannon. But I think that it's the fear of the unknown, and I think a lot of it has to do with this perceived fear of it's not that hard to recruit. I mean, it's hard to recruit, but when you have a really great job with a really great company, it kind of sells itself. You almost have to get out of your own way to really sell it, right? Versus if you have an agency and you're trying to go get clients, you got really nothing to sell on. You're selling yourself, and it's such a nebulous thing. The focus is on you, and I think it's the same reason why people are afraid to put content out there, be on video. They're afraid of that rejection, because the rejection is they're rejecting them, as opposed to if you're a recruiter and you're recruiting on this great position with a great company, they're rejecting the job. They're not rejecting you. And I think a lot of people have that fear of rejection. I think it comes from a lot of it comes from that fear of rejection.
I found that and I think I've got having been a business owner for 17 of the 22 years I've been doing this, and then being in like peer group, and mostly having clients that are business owners, become friends. We talk about this stuff. I mean, been in peer groups like EO and Vistage and things like that. And like, you have all these conversations around who is an entrepreneur, who isn't, who's comfortable with it, who's not, right? And it comes up when sometimes a full desk person like myself is contemplating, do I hire someone? And then it always comes up like, what if they go off and hang out their own shingle if they're that good? But a lot of people
go do that. Go do that.
Yeah. And if they're gonna, they will, but a lot won't, because a lot of people, and this is not a dig, but like a lot of people are either comfortable being with the idea of being an entrepreneur or not. And like, there'll be people I talk to routinely who I know are like corporate recruiter friends of mine that have contemplated hanging out a shingle, and sometimes we'll have coffee and talk about it. I'm like, listen, I see all the reasons why this will work, but that's because that's how I see it. But I get that, like, maybe you don't see it that way. And like, I think that for some people, like, they're just, the concept of just going out on your own, period, whether as a recruiter or whatever. I mean, there may be other circumstances holding you back, but like, some people just would really prefer that model of, I'd like to just.
Sure. I understand. And
I don't think that's, it's not a bad thing. But it also makes it hard for us, because the three of us all work for ourselves. And for us, it makes total sense, but I don't think it does for everybody.
That's a good point. I mean, and also to your point is that, Chris, so Sid, for instance, hey Sid, if you're watching, so Sid, one of my new guys, right? Like, he is killing it. He is crushing it. He is doing an 80% submittal to client interview right out of the gate. Okay.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Right. So here's the deal is like when I was talking to another friend of mine, he was like, well, what if one of these guys goes out and starts his own firm? And I'm like, let him. Like, what better compliment could there be to your business is for you to say, oh yeah, well, what happens what's the track record of growth in the organization? Oh, well, when they reach a certain ceiling, they either become a partner here or they go out and start their own firm and they're wildly successful. Yeah. What is a better moniker of your success as a recruiter that you're able to be a leader to other recruiters? What
I had someone work for me for of the 10 years I had that firm who worked for me probably about 4.5 of those years. And like towards the end when we were like kind of winding down, it wasn't COVID yet, but it was getting close. And unfortunately I wound everything down before COVID. It was just me because that would have been a whole different ballgame. But I was starting to kind of wind things down for various reasons. Like I was having a kid, partner was getting a divorce. We kind of were starting to pare down. And so I encouraged him to go start on his own and pointed him towards a bunch of resources. I'm not like, hey, listen, I might not have a job for you in a couple of months. So frankly, but you can do this, right? And here's a bunch of people I can introduce you. You can do splits with or whatever. You go out and this was 6 years ago now. He's still solo. It was great because like a year or two out, initially I called him up about a split I had. And I was like, it's a decent client, but it's not a huge fee, blah, 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 blah. And he said, he's like, listen, Chris, like, I don't take this the wrong way, but like if at this point, if my half isn't at least 10 grand, like I can't really do it. And I was like, that made me so happy. I was like, if that's where you're at, I'm fucking thrilled. Like, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. I mean, and also you think about all the people that you've networked with and you've worked with and that you've built relationships with and how you can make those, how you can go beyond the transactional and how you can make them deep and meaningful. And Chris, that's awesome. Hell yeah.
Brian, I want to ask this. We're about to wrap up here in a minute, but I want to ask this. But I wanted to ask.
Keep going, I know.
I said what I've been wanting to ask though is, you're kind of a rare breed, right? I think a lot of, and that's a compliment, right? A lot of people can't be, they're going to be successful in agency or HR because we're really different, right? Yeah, we're recruiters, but it's a very different type of person in each sort of role, right? And you've had success in both, which is really interesting. And I'm curious, given your experience on both sides of the fence, what can you teach recruiters to have a better relationship with HR? Because I think it's one of the biggest issues that most agency recruiters have is that we're so told so many times, don't go to HR, don't go to HR, don't go to HR. You kind of need to.
You have to get along with them.
HR. Have to get along with them.
Along with them, it's a necessary evil. Yeah,
right? It's a necessary evil. But how do you do that? How do you build a relationship with HR? Like, what's the
secret sauce?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think has been unique for me being agency recruiter is that if somebody's working on a search and I'm like, so I'll give you an idea. Jordan, who's with one of my clients, the other day, I asked the question, well, what's keeping you up awake at night? Like, that's going to be on my tombstone, right? Like, I won't pop out of the ground, but yeah. Okay. Is that I just did a 30-minute Boolean session with Jordan and showed her how to find the candidate she's looking for using Boolean search. I don't want that search. That's fine. She can have that search, right? But it's making that relationship that I can be a trusted advisor, that I'm not out for her job. I'm there to make Jordan look good in her organization, right? So like, that's it. Like, I'll host a lunch and learn and just have like 10 people in a room and they're all from HR and we'll sit there and we'll eat steak and we'll crack up and we'll make jokes. And that's well and good. But really, like that conversation that I had with Jordan or the conversation that I had with Aaron, Aaron's a hiring manager who doesn't know what his, what questions they should be asking that align with their company values. And he feels like everybody's asking the same question. Like, just invest some time with them. Share with them that institutional knowledge that you bring from an Amazon, an Apple, a Twitter, a McAfee, a rent.com. Bring that information, right? Like, don't bottle it up. I mean, look, I'm talking to two guys who believe in the theory of abundance, right? Like, anybody who's listening to this has the potential to grow and to go and to be bigger than themselves. Give a lot of it away.
Well,
That's it.
also what I found too that also helps along the same lines of that is also ask them for advice or not advice, but how they do things.
Yeah,
For
sure.
example, what they've noticed that people like to be experts or feel like they're experts and like to give. And I always ask, hey, how do you do scorecarding in there? How do you do this? What's your guys' process for this? Like ask them, because obviously you're not expected to be an expert in talent acquisition. You're an expert recruiter. That's what you do. You're not an expert talent acquisition professional. They are, right? And you can share your knowledge with them, but also they got knowledge they can share with you. And they're free to do it if you ask them. And I find that, at least for me, I've built a relationship. And I ask others about their expertise. And they get to share with me. It further cements that bond,
And
right?
I don't disagree.
I had, it's in your case, like you mentioned, being able to highlight, how you did it at certain internal organizations or whatever. Like, let's say for the recruiter who never had that and has always been external, I think that the piece I got the most from what you said is like make them look good, right? Like at the end of the day, that's how you succeed in like anything. Like if you are at work, you make your boss look good, it makes you look good, right? Like if you make your client look good, you look good. And I feel like, and the same thing with like DSP asking them questions about how they would do things, make them feel like the expert, like just they're partners. Figure out how you can make them look good. Maybe even ask them, how can this work so that you look good to your boss and this is the right choice all around? Like what, how,
But don't feed them free candidates. Don't feed them free candidates. Show them how to fish. Don't hunt for them.
Don't
feed the animals.
Away, but yes.
You do not feed the animals, right? It's a basic 101. Don't feed the animals. Yeah. All right, Brian, we got it to jam. We're about to turn into pumpkins here.
Yes.
At the stroke of midnight. Now, Brian was telling me that he is going to be part of a conference that's happening. Oh shoot, I was going to say I can't promote it. It's actually
okay. So look. So I don't want to get scalped. I don't want to get kicked out of the group. But hey, I speak at a lot of conferences. If you think you need to be in that room, contact me or contact DSP. I will get you a discount code. I will try to get you a free ticket, whether it's going to RIS in Atlanta, RIS, the Recruiting Innovation Summit, or it's going to TA Week in San Diego. You let me know. I want to hook you up. I want to make you look good.
There you go.
I love that. Brian, you're a car, man. It's an amazing interview. Find Brian Fink on LinkedIn. He's really easy to find. He's all over the place. So really easy. Tell him that when you connect with him, tell him that you saw the show. Brian, thank you very much for being on. I really appreciate it. It was really a fantastic one. And I think I definitely want to have you on again. There's a lot more I want to talk.
All right, let's party. Let's party when we hit 1 million.
All right, brother. That sounds good.
Come to Tampa, go to Burns, go knock that out, bro.
Oh, that'd be great. Burns, one of the best steakhouses in the country, man. Right here in Tampa. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching live, comment live. If you're watching the replay, comment replay. And we will see you next time. Thank you, everybody.